In 2014, something happened that shocked the world. A man died in a small rural town. He was 92 years old. He fixed cars for 25 years. He cleaned buildings for another 17 years. He bought a small, two-bedroom house for a modest price when he was 38 and lived there for the rest of his life. His main hobby was working outdoors with his hands. When he died, his net worth was over $8 million. Now let me tell you about another man. This one had an Ivy League education. He was an executive at a prestigious Wall Street firm. He retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. He was praised for his sound judgment and personal integrity. He built an 18,000 square foot mansion with 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, and 2 swimming pools. His lifestyle cost over $90,000 a month just to maintain. In 2008, the second man went bankrupt. In 2014, the janitor left millions to charity. What did the janitor know that the executive didn't? This is the story of how two men with completely different backgrounds, education, and lifestyles ended up on opposite sides of the same coin. And more importantly, this is the story of what you can learn from both of them. Let's start with the janitor. He was born in a small rural town. He was the first person in his family to finish high school. And that was impressive because he hitchhiked to campus every single day just to get there. He got a job fixing cars at a gas station. He did that for 25 years. Then he took a second job cleaning buildings. He did that for another 17 years. At age 38, he bought a small house. He lived there for the rest of his life, 54 years. His wife passed away when he was 50. He never remarried. His friend later said that his main hobby, his only hobby, was working with his hands outdoors. If you had met the janitor, you would not have thought much of him. He lived a simple life. He dressed modestly. He drove old cars. He never went on fancy vacations. He never bragged about anything. He was invisible. In the year he died, over 2.8 million Americans passed away. Fewer than 4,000 of them, less than 0.15%, had a net worth of over $8 million. The janitor was one of them. His will revealed something that stunned everyone who knew him. He left millions to his kids. And millions more to his local hospital and library. Everyone asked the same question. Where did he get all that money? There was no secret. No inheritance. No lottery win. He saved what little he could, every paycheck, every month, for 60 years. He invested those savings in stable, boring companies that paid dividends. And then he waited. Tiny savings compounded into something extraordinary. It took 60 years. 60 years of patience. 60 years of discipline. 60 years of ignoring what everyone else was doing. The janitor didn't have a genius IQ. He didn't have a degree in finance. He didn't have insider information. He had something more powerful. Patience. Frugality. And time. Now let's talk about the executive. The executive was everything the janitor was not. He went to an Ivy League school. He got an advanced degree. He became an executive at one of the most prestigious Wall Street firms in the world. His career was so successful that he retired in his 40s. He was praised by his CEO for his business savvy, leadership skills, sound judgment, and personal integrity. He was featured in business magazines as one of the most successful businesspeople under 40. If you met the executive, you would think, this guy has it all. This is what success looks like. And the executive definitely looked the part. In the mid-2000s, he built an 18,000 square foot mansion in an exclusive neighborhood. 11 bathrooms. 2 elevators. 2 swimming pools. 7 garages. One of the guests later recalled the thrill of dining and dancing atop a see-through covering on the home's indoor swimming pool. This house cost over $90,000 a month just to maintain. Let that sink in. $90,000 a month just to keep the lights on, the pools clean, and the property maintained. The executive didn't pay for this house in cash. He borrowed heavily. Then 2008 happened. The financial crisis hit everyone. But the executive was especially vulnerable. High debt. Illiquid assets. A lifestyle built on borrowed money. He was forced to declare bankruptcy. In a court hearing, he said something extraordinary. "I currently have no income." First, his beach house was foreclosed. Then, in 2014, just 5 months before the janitor left millions to charity, the executive's mansion was sold in a foreclosure auction. It sold for 75% less than the insurance company thought it was worth. The janitor was patient. The executive was greedy. That's all it took to eclipse the massive education and experience gap between the two. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Which one are you more like? Let's pause here for a moment. You might be thinking, well, the janitor was lucky. The stock market went up. Or, the executive was just unlucky. The financial crisis ruined him. And you're not entirely wrong. Luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. Every financial outcome is guided by forces beyond individual effort. Consider this. One famous tech founder went to one of the only high schools in the world that had a computer in the late 1960s. That's a 1 in a million stroke of luck. His friend went to the same school, just as talented, just as driven. His friend died in an accident before graduating. Also a 1 in a million stroke of risk. The same force. The same magnitude. Working in opposite directions. So yes, luck and risk are real. But here's what you need to understand. Nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. The executive wasn't a bad person. He made bad decisions. The janitor wasn't a genius. He made good decisions and stuck with them. Here's the key insight. Doing well with money has very little to do with how smart you are. It has everything to do with how you behave. A genius who loses control of their emotions can be a financial disaster. The opposite is also true. Ordinary people with no financial education can become wealthy if they have a handful of behavioral skills. The janitor saved money for 60 years. Not because he was greedy. Not because he was trying to impress anyone. Because he had a simple habit and he never stopped. The executive lived like a billionaire before he became one. He borrowed money he didn't have, to buy things he didn't need, to impress people he didn't even care about. And the universe doesn't look kindly on that. It doesn't reward shortcuts. It doesn't reward greed. It rewards patience. It rewards humility. It rewards survival. Compounding only works if you can give it time. If you interrupt it, if you blow up, go broke, or panic sell, you break the magic. You can be a terrible investor and still become wealthy if you avoid catastrophic mistakes. You can be a great investor and lose everything if you take one reckless bet. A famous investor said it best. To make money they didn't have and didn't need, they risked what they did have and did need. And that's foolish. It is just plain foolish. So here's the part where we stop talking about the janitor and the executive. Here's the part where we talk about you. Lesson number 1. Get your goalpost to stop moving. The hardest financial skill is knowing when you have enough. If your expectations rise every time your income rises, you'll never feel satisfied. You'll always feel like you need more. More money. More status. More stuff. And the only way to catch up when the goalpost keeps moving is to take greater and greater risks. That's what the executive did. He had millions. He wanted to be a billionaire. He risked everything he had to get something he didn't need. The janitor didn't play that game. He had enough. Millions wasn't the goal. It was the result of a life spent ignoring the temptation to impress others. Lesson number 2. Wealth is what you don't see. When you see someone driving a nice car, what do you think? You think, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. But here's the paradox. The person driving the car doesn't impress you. The car does. Wealth is not what you spend. Wealth is what you keep. The janitor drove old cars. He lived in a small house. He wore modest clothes. What you didn't see was his millions in assets. The executive drove luxury cars. He lived in a mansion. He wore tailored suits. What you couldn't see was his crushing debt. The person who looks rich is often the least wealthy. And the person who looks ordinary might just be a millionaire. Lesson number 3. Survival is the secret. Getting rich and staying rich are two different skills. Getting rich requires risk, optimism, and boldness. Staying rich requires humility, frugality, and fear. One of the world's most successful investors has a secret that most people miss. It's not his investment returns. It's that he's been investing since he was a child and he's never stopped. Over 95% of his wealth came after his 65th birthday. The head of a famous venture capital firm was asked why his company has been successful for decades. He said, "We've always been afraid of going out of business. Fear kept them alive. Paranoia kept them humble. And humility let them compound." Lesson number 4. Never risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. You can be risk-loving and still avoid ruin. The odds of winning Russian roulette are 5-1 in your favor. But if you lose, you're dead. The same is true with money. Some things are not worth risking no matter the potential reward. Your reputation. Your freedom. Your family's financial security. Your peace of mind. The janitor understood this. He didn't borrow money to buy investments. He didn't take crazy risks. He didn't chase the next hot thing. He just saved consistently for 60 years. And he let compounding do the rest. Lesson number 5. Time is your superpower. Compounding is the most powerful force in finance. But it only works if you give it time. The person who starts saving $100 a month at age 20 can end up with more money than the person who saves $1,000 a month starting at 40. Time is the secret ingredient. The janitor didn't get rich overnight. He got rich over 60 years of patient, boring, consistent saving. And that's the lesson we all need to learn. So let me ask you something. Are you more like the janitor? Or are you more like the executive? It's not about having a high IQ. It's not about having a fancy degree. It's about behavior. It's about patience. It's about knowing when you have enough. You can start today. Save what you can. Invest it. And then wait. I want to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you're going to change about your financial behavior after watching this video? If you found this valuable, hit that subscribe button. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it. I will see you in the next one.